Canada isn't just about mounted police, lumberjacks, ice hockey and maple syrup. It's also produced its fair share of chart-topping crooners. Ranked by Canadian Business Magazine as the 7th most powerful Canadian in Hollywood, Avril Lavigne is not into labels.
I always hate when I get labeled punk or whatever, because I'm not. And I've never, claimed to be punk, but whatever. I always just found it really hard when I came out that people would label me, because I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, I'm a person. You can't label people, like, give them one word and say this is what you are.
It seems that few people have been inclined to disagree with the wild child rocker, whose 2002 debut album, Let Go, sold over 17 million copies. 2 years later, on the eve of the release of her second album, Under My Skin, she agreed that she'd been given a pretty free hand when growing up.
Some people are told kind of like how to act, what to wear, what they can and can't sing. And I've never been in that situation. I've always done what I wanted to. And that's, I have a lot of say in everything. So I'm pretty lucky that way.
She'd begun singing church songs at the age of 2 with her mother, who quickly realised she had a child prodigy on her hands. At the age of 14, she won a competition to sing with Shania Twain. And 4 years later, her debut single, Complicated, went to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. After Under My Skin, it took her another 3 years to get round to releasing her third album, The Best Damn Thing, which went straight to number 1 in the US.
Because I write my songs, it takes much longer for me to work on my album. And then I took my time with the album. I didn't want to rush it out. I wanted to make sure that it was really good. That was important for me.
In the interim, she'd also found the time to appear in several movies and marry Sum 41 frontman Derek Quigley.
I don't feel like marriage has really changed me that much. I mean, just personally, in my personal life, I'm really happy.
Despite the fact that several gossip sites and blogs have labelled her a brat for always getting her own way, Avril insists she's kept some humility.
Me being a girl from Canada, and it's like all over South America and all over Asia and all over Europe, everyone knows me, and I have a huge following, and that's pretty amazing. It's a very special thing.
Touring the world is very exciting. To sing in front of 50 or 60,000 people, the show starts, you're in the round. You feel the energy, you feel the vibration, you go out there, you anticipate.
Most artists can only dream of the opportunity of playing to an enormous crowd. For Celine Dion, singing to thousands of people on a nightly basis has become a way of life. In fact, during her 600-show contract at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, she packed out the 4,000-seat arena for a staggering 5 nights a week over 5 years. When the show finally closed in December 2007, it felt like leaving home.
It's going to be very difficult for me because it's already starting to be hard to say goodbye to that show and the cast and the crew and the people. 5 years of spending amazing moments together.
Already a star in the French-speaking world in the 1980s, it took Celine Dion another 2 years to master English and to begin her assault on the US charts. Her breakthrough came with a title track to Disney's 1991 animated feature Beauty and the Beast. But it was her rendition of My Heart Will Go On from James Cameron's Titanic in 1998 that wedged her into the public consciousness as one of the world's top-rated songbirds.
She's beautiful, she's generous, she's great. I mean, she's amazing.
I love her. I've seen her in concert. She's, one of her songs was in my wedding. I just love her.
Unlike many of her peers, she's managed to steer well clear of any scandal or intrigue, apart from marrying her manager, Rennie Angelil, who's 26 years her senior. After closing her show in Las Vegas at the end of 2007, she began revving up the tour bus to promote her first all-new English studio album, Taking Chances. In an attempt to shake off the staid, middle-of-the-road image, the album featured collaborations with Josh Groban and the Black Eyed Peas' will.i.am. She's also been busting a few moves.
I always loved dancing a lot, very much, but I think I didn't do before because I think with time you feel more secure about yourself. I don't have to prove. What if I dance and I don't do it right? I'm not a dancer to start with, and I can make mistakes. I just want to enjoy myself. But when you mature, you just want to enjoy. You don't feel like proving to yourself. You just want to do it and have a good time.
The velvety vocal cords of Vancouver's Michael Bublé have earned him comparisons with great crooners like Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett. He was introduced to the music of the 40s and 50s by his Italian grandfather, and he recently joked that his decision to go the big band route was based on his belief that it would get him laid. After achieving his goal and releasing 2 hit albums along the way, he was feeling pretty relaxed and confident on the eve of his 3rd album, Call Me Irresponsible.
I've come to a point now where I'm really just kind of allowing myself to enjoy, really enjoy it, like just to take pleasure out of, everything I do, whether it's singing on stage, just sitting here in an interview with you, or even just talking to animals. Yeah, this record basically was kind of like my statement or my remark on the state of love and the fact that love is the greatest thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. And I can only explain it to say that, for those of us who have been in love, lucky enough, there's no feeling as good. But for those of us who have been in love with someone who isn't in love with us, there's nothing worse.
And when it comes to love, Michael has seen it from all sides. The pain of his 2005 split from his fiancée Debbie Timmis inspired him to write the hit song Lost. However, just a few months later, he found his way again after catching sight of British actress Emily Blunt backstage at an Australian awards event. They became an item, and the incurable romantic couldn't help gushing about her in interviews. For a while there, they made a cute red carpet double act.
What am I wearing, kid?
Avril
Lavigne, vintage Avril
Jimmy
Lavigne.
Choo.
Jimmy Choo shoes.
And Lorraine Schwartz.
And Rhoda purse.
Bling bling and purse, yeah.
He's also my purse.
I'm her purse. I'm wearing Hugo Boss, and I was. Everyone's all. Well, they're all congratulating her on her 2 nominations, and no one seems to realize that I was nominated as well.
Tell them for what?
Shiny as shoes.
Yeah. They're so shiny.
I didn't even see that on the press release.
No, because I'm kind of like a goal. Not a lot of big names showed up.
Who was your biggest competition on this front?
Clooney. He's always my biggest
He's
competition.
so shiny.
However, by the middle of 2008, Michael's publicist confirmed that the romance was over. The official reason for the split was their competing hectic schedules. But perhaps Michael's seeming obsession with his furry friends had something to do with it.
The animals, for sure. Like the dogs and cats that come to the show. I actually, the other day, it was amazing because you get compliments from people all the time, you know what I mean? From kids and, young, old, gay, straight, rich, poor. But this I think it was like a Maltese-poodle. He just said to me, "You're great, Michael. I love your music." And I thought, that's what this is all about.
With an Egyptian father, Lebanese mother, and grandparents living in Italy, Montreal-based singer Chantal Charmondi has had a uniquely multicultural upbringing.
I think that I brought in a little bit of everything that I grew up with, and I went into the studio and I said, I'm going to write stuff that I love and stuff that maybe not be commercially successful, I didn't know, but I'm going to write something that comes from my heart and put it together and see what happens. And that's what I did. You go there.
Chantal was mentored by one of the nuns at her boarding school and started formal training as an opera singer. She speaks 5 languages, including Spanish, French, and Arabic, all of which made an appearance on her 2006 album, Love Needs You.
When I sing in Spanish, there's a certain oomph with the romance, and when I sing in French, there's a certain cold but, more contrived, I would say. So yes, I think language really brings a different mentality, or yeah. And so when you put them all together in one song, sometimes you just get like, oh my gosh, you know?
Dubbed the new Shakira, her Latino influence has also had reviewers comparing her to Jennifer Lopez.
I think it's, you know, just to be compared to an artist who has done so phenomenal in her career, and her being, of course, of you know, a different origin, being of Latin origin, that she sings, she dances, she acts. I think it's an honor to be able to be in the same breath as also an artist who basically has managed her career.
On the acting front, Chantal may not have had as many credits to her name as J-Lo, but she has appeared in a few Canadian films and had a great time filming the video to her first single, You Want Me, in Marrakesh.
When you go there, you basically go back in time. You could not make a movie and have extras that look like that. It's just amazing. The color of the city, the attitude of the people, the calmness, you know. I mean, they're a very passionate bunch, but they're not aggressive. They help each other. It's just an amazing place.
Nelly Furtado's Portuguese ancestry has helped give the Canadian singer an exotic edge. As well as R&B, hip-hop and drum and bass, she grew up listening to world music, Portuguese fado, Brazilian bossa nova and Indian music. After scoring 4 Grammy nominations with her debut pop album Whoa Nelly in 2002, she changed pace and became more reflective with folklore the following year. For her third album, Loose, in 2006, she abandoned her folk and rock roots in favor of a hip-hop and R&B collaboration with Timbaland.
For me, I just love changing, and I really felt like I hadn't given my fans the full Nelly Furtado urban experience. I was trying a bunch of new things. You know, I was in the studio and we cut this one track called Glow, and I really wanted it to be fresh. Someone described it as sort of like a Debbie Harry sort of hip-hop song. And it goes, glow, 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 glow. And I did that to my vocal cords in the studio because I like to experiment, and so does Timbaland. We're both into world music. We listen to African music. We listen to Latin music.
While some critics labelled Loose a sellout, others called it slick, smart and surprising. Nelly attributed much of the new sexy sound to the birth of her daughter Nevis.
For me, motherhood, yes, has inspired a whole new sexiness in me. It really has. After I gave birth to my beautiful daughter, I felt more curvaceous. I felt more proud of my body.
And she wasn't too worried about the critics.
I, in my career, have always felt that if people either love you or hate you, it's great. You know, apathy is the area you don't want to get into in the music business. You know, you want people to be passionate about you, even if it's a passion where they're angry at you, you know.
Sticking to her own instincts earned her the #1 spot on album charts around the world, including Canada, the US and the UK.
I just can't fathom being #1 in the world. I never really had that kind of success before. I'm sure I was popular and everything, but it feels good, really good.
So what next?
I think that it might be a Latin album, a combination of Portuguese and Spanish. I'm just exploring. I do not like to repeat myself. That's the one thing I won't do.
He may have been singing and playing for over 30 years, but Bryan Adams still gets excited about making and selling records.
Look at that. This is my first gold record for this album. I'm really surprised. Thank you very much. Wow, it's amazing. It's obvious. I guess I should say that I think that Peruvians have very good taste.
The Canadian rocker was in South America to promote his 11th studio album, simply titled 11. 17 years after scoring a worldwide #1 and a Grammy Award for Everything I Do It For You, he was taking a different approach to his music, recording tracks backstage and in hotel rooms while on tour, and releasing albums independently.
I know already that we're better off here doing it myself than I was with a label beforehand, because the previous album I put out here, which was called Room Service, our advances on this album are 4 times as much, you know, and there's 4 times the interest just by doing it ourselves, because we're creating our own buzz.
And he was full of advice for younger artists starting out on their recording careers.
It's really time for artists to get control of what they're doing and take control and appreciate what it takes to move forward. I think there was even my own self, when I think about the years gone by, how much I didn't really understand how much was, went behind the scenes in making, in promoting a record. And now that I've been sort of independent for about 4 or 5 years, and it's quite amazing the difference of being able to actually be in control of everything.
Part of the grand plan to publicise 11 was to stage a tour that took in 11 countries in 11 days. The mini tour saw Brian performing an acoustic set with just his guitar and harmonica.
There's a large and very broad audience when I'm performing. Just I wouldn't even want to speculate. Mums bringing their daughters bringing their boyfriends bringing their girlfriends bringing their sisters. Everybody's out there.
But even if nobody were out there, Brian would just keep on doing his thing.
I wouldn't say it's an addiction, but there's something that happens when you are a songwriter that it's quite exciting to be able to create again and get something new started. So, this album's done, but I'm already thinking about what to do next. And that's just how it goes. I think it happens for people that make films and write books, and anyone that's in the writing process, they always have that, desire to keep trying to do something else.
While Avril Lavigne may be the enfant terrible of Canadian rock, Alanis Morissette is its reigning queen. Her 1995 album, Jagged Little Pill, remains the highest-selling debut album worldwide in history. And according to the Record Industry Association of America, she is the biggest-selling female rock artist in music. Her raw, passionate vocals and ability to wear her heart on her sleeve turn songs like You Ought to Know, All I Really Want and Ironic into instant angst anthems, and inspired the styles of artists like Pink, Shakira and Meredith Brooks, as well as Avril Lavigne. After 2 more albums, supposed former infatuation junkie and under rug swept, she needed to tidy it all up with the greatest hits collection.
I just feel like it's such a culmination of the last 15 years of my life, and I've never had, sort of a collection of this kind, everything in one place. And it's given me a lot of objectivity and just a chance to kind of cleanse my palate before the next chapter, And it's an amazing way for me to look back, because typically I never look back. I just breeze through to the next thing. So this has been a way for me to really tip the hat this year.
Back in 2005, she was glowing from her recent engagement to Canadian actor Ryan Reynolds.
We communicate a lot, we laugh a lot. We're like buddies, we're like best friends, and just mutual support, that's huge. I want to be a trampoline for him, and I feel that way with him for me too. So we want each other to be really happy, and that's our main goal.
By 2008, however, what was making Ryan happy was his marriage to actress Scarlett Johansson, which gave the confessional singer plenty of inspiration for her next album, Flavors of Entanglement.
In the middle of my breakup, I went to London for 12 days, wrote 12 songs. So it was all very immediate and visceral. And then I came back to LA and wrote 12 more songs with a gentleman named Guy Sigsworth, whom I adore. So the writing itself was very immediate versus my having written in the past retrospectively. This was written in the moment. It was like a little life raft for me. The structure of going in the studio every day was really helpful for me.
But having got all the emotion out in the studio, she's managed to work through the broken heart.
Oh, I have enough distance, so to be perfectly honest, I'm not really that focused on it, and I wish anyone whom I love, whether I hang out with them or not, great success and love in their life, so Godspeed.
By 2003, sultry Canadian jazz singer Diana Krall had become a household name and could take her pick of the world's most prestigious concert venues.
I was sitting around talking with some musicians and some friends about whether we like Carnegie Hall better or Royal Albert Hall, but we like Radio City Music Hall, and I thought, oh, you little brat, can you imagine that you're having this discussion? I hope there's not somebody's listening in.
But the 38-year-old from British Columbia could hardly be called an overnight sensation.
My life is moving very, very fast in the last 6 years in particular. 6 years ago, I wasn't really able to pay rent and was still, surviving by playing gigs that I really didn't want to play, which 7 hours a night in a place where I didn't want to be, but it was a good dues paying, it was a lot of that.
Going from playing piano in hotel foyers to the stage of Carnegie Hall was understandably quite a culture shock.
Places like that, there's such a history, and so you can turn the nervous energy around from it being daunting and to one of inspiration. So I try to think that way, or nothing at all. I don't think I just pretend I just let the music take over, which is the most important thing anyways. It shouldn't be, once you start playing, that's what it is.
Having made her name singing and playing jazz standards by the likes of Cole Porter, George Gershwin and Irving Berlin, she was preparing to launch something of a culture shock of her own, with the release of her 8th album, The Girl in the Other Room. It featured new songs by artists like Tom Waits, Chris Smither, Arthur Herzog and Joni Mitchell, as well as her own writing collaborations with her English singer-songwriter husband, Elvis Costello.
It just came to life, and then you look at it and you have 17 tunes recorded and you put it together and it becomes a book of short stories.
3 years later, on the eve of releasing the very best of Diana Krall, she'd become a very contented mother of twins.
I want to be joyful every moment I can, and these little guys are like magic wands like that, they're just full of light. And so it goes into everything that I do, so I'm really happy.
Daniel Powter became the first solo Canadian male artist in 11 years to top the Billboard charts with his single Bad Day. It was music to the ears of the former violin player who recorded the whole album of the same name for $6,000.
I was, shocked, surprised, to say the least. We made most of the record in a really small apartment, and sonically, it's a little inferior, you know what I mean? I didn't have all the equipment to make it sound like a big smash hit, and so we had to do some of the mixing in LA, but I think when I heard it on the radio, I was like, okay, maybe this has a shot, The first time I heard it was in France, and I thought, wow, but to this point, I'm still humbled by it.
Achieving such runaway success was particularly sweet for the boy from Vernon, British Columbia, who'd had to drop out of his music course in university because of his dyslexia.
I really drew a lot from the harmony classes and the ear training and picked up a lot, but when it came to the end, you had to be able to read and write, and I couldn't.
Not being able to read anybody else's music forced him to start writing his own.
I think if I could read, Tchaikovsky piece or a Bartok piece and sight read it like right off the bat, I think I probably would have followed that career, that direction of just, being a performer or being in the symphony or trying to do something like that.
Then, after bending over backwards to try and win the approval of record labels, he decided to just make music that he liked.
I realized that the more I made the music for myself, the more successful I was becoming, and that was the goal for me. It was really, I gave up that idea of trying to make music about what I thought other people would want.
Rather like fellow Canadian Diana Krall, all the success didn't come overnight. But at the age of 35, he's happy with the way things have gone.
I couldn't have written these records, the music when I was 18. So I don't want to lie about how old I am. I don't care how old I am. I still feel good. I still feel great. I love to play music.